seat 10, just like my opponent here. And we've got big shoes to fill because Larson J has held that seat for the last 2 terms. I was born and raised in Mascot, Tennessee. How many of you know where that is? I speak at a lot of clubs, and you'd be shocked how many people don't know where Mascot is. We raised our children in halls, and we moved back to Strawberry Plains almost 10 years ago to build a house so I could further my animal rescue situation. My husband has a lot of patience. So 1, for putting up with me, and 2, for putting up with my animal rescue. I won't call it a hobby, it was a mission, and I'm scaling back on that tremendously. But now I'm running to be your next Knox County Commission at large, which means, as many of you know, I will back up the district commissioners. So that would be Adam Thompson, your 8th district commissioner, and everyone else in the county. Those, and like I said, and I wasn't just being funny, those are big shoes to fill. Like Larson, Larson did a lot of due diligence when he ran for county commission. He spent time in the sheriff's office, he spent time in the schools, he spent time in every facet of county government to understand what was going on. And I've submerged myself in that in the last 7.5 years serving alongside of Sheriff Spangler, which means I know every department head. Don't ask Sherry Witt how many times I have to call her, or Phil Ballard for help for people that we represent, which is all of Knox County. But the fact that I don't have a learning curve, I think will allow me to begin serving on day 1. I always tell people I will not be the most educated in a room. I certainly won't be the smartest. If I am, I'm in the wrong room. But what I'll tell you is I'm hard to outwork. I'll show up, I'll listen, and I'm a problem solver. And you can ask anybody that I worked alongside at the sheriff's office, from raising money for non-budgetary fulfilled items for the sheriff's office to handling constituent services. I'm proud to have done that and have a track record of helping people, solving problems, and getting things done. I think the biggest thing for me is talking to neighbors when we've been door knocking and seeing what their concerns are. And like many of you, I just want to see a show of hands. How many people are concerned with our roads and our infrastructure? And how many people are concerned with my growth? Okay. I've spent my entire adult life in real estate. Proudly, I've trained some of the best agents that we currently have in town. I have a lot of developer contacts. I have a lot of friends who are builders, and I'm not ashamed of that. What that has afforded me, again, those are taxpayers, just like you and I. What that has afforded me is an open line of communication with people to help solve our problems, my problems, your problems, when it comes to development. And it's been said, oh, she'll be bought and paid by developers. That's not true. If you know Kimberly Glenn, she's not bought and paid for by anybody. And I will tell you the truth. And if there's an issue, I'll confront people head on if there's an issue. I don't like to sit online and be a keyboard warrior. I like to go to the source, and I like to take care of the problems. And I would hope that all of you, if you need something from me or have a question, would do the same. So the overgrowth is an issue, but I met with Chris Caldwell a few weeks ago, and here's what he told me, shockingly, that this commission has actually approved less development than in any commission past. Doesn't seem like that, does it? It's just all of a sudden we're noticing it. How many of you in this room were born and raised here? And how many have moved here in the last 10 years? Okay, so we've had people come here. Why do they come here? It is one of the best. This is the best district.
Yeah.
Yes. But people come here because it's attractive. Our taxes are low, more affordable than any other place in the country. I have family all over in the military, and they are shocked at how little it costs Sherry to register a car here, how little we pay in sales tax, how little we pay in property tax. So there are people that will say, I'm not going to raise your taxes. I'm not going to do this, or I am going to do this. I can't make promises. There is absolutely no way, when I'm for the first year of my term, if you elect me as your Republican nominee, there is no way that I will be able to tell you what I will and won't do without having sat in that seat and walked in that man's shoes. I won't be able to tell you. But what I can say is that before we would raise taxes, that we'll make sure we've exhausted every other effort to do so. And what I can tell you is that the only campaign promise that I'll make you is that I'll work hard and that I'll listen to you. And if there's a new development, and there's one in my back door right now, and everybody that Jerry Glenn and I've ever known in our whole life that we didn't know that we know, we suddenly know them because they're putting this development in, and they know that I'm running for commission, and they want to put 200 apartments right in our back door. Well, I'm not an engineer and I'm not a genius, but I can tell you that the road that they're wanting to put that on will not handle that type of traffic. I can tell you there's probably, the infrastructure probably lacks for that place that they're wanting to put 200 apartments. I can tell you Carter Elementary School probably can't handle 200 more children. So, what would we do about that? By the time it gets to commission, I like to say that it's gone too far. We really need to go on the back end when it's on the planning commission, and we need to get people organized.
Amen.
And I'm a communicator, not just because that's my title as communications director, but I like to get people together for a cause. And I think the best way to solve those problems is bringing the community together, whether they're for or against something, and getting them involved in the process. And so they can meet with the developers, again, having that relationship with the developers, put everybody in the same room, and see what can be agreed on and what's disagreed on, and then we move forward. It goes through a couple of steps before it ever gets to county commission, but ironically, county commission gets blamed for everything. So that is what I'll bring to the table, is listening to you, working with you, working alongside your district commissioner to help solve the problems that matter. And I think Larson already has a major plan in place for the roads and for infrastructure. He has. And I believe anybody that is running has a plan. I don't think anybody woke up one day and said, I think I'm just going to go be an elected official. Sounds like fun. And if you've been me the past 2 weeks, you know that's anything but the devil, okay? What I think, people have a heart and they want to serve. And I commend anybody who puts their name on the ballot because it's not easy. And I would say every single candidate in here would agree with me. We are ready for this to be over. And we're ready for you guys to elect who you want to elect to represent you as your Republican nominee, and we're ready to work hard for you. I believe everybody across the board has that same thing in common. I don't think anybody's title seeking. I don't think anybody is position seeking. And if you're a Knox County governor, you're certainly not seeking the money. So I want to open it up and let you guys ask me questions, because I feel that's the best way for me to hear from you and see what's on your mind. And you all are my people. This is where I was born and raised. You all either know me, you know my husband, you know my family, so fire away. Oh, somebody, of course, yes, sir.
Kimberly, as a member of the county executive committee for the Republican Party and a candidate for state executive committee, I just want to ask you why you felt the need to encourage Democrats to cross over and vote in the Republican primary.
That's a great question, Mark, and I'm so glad you'd be the one to ask me instead of sit online and type out stuff, because I did see some derogatory stuff that you said. So I'm glad you asked that. I'll be happy to answer it. You know why? The reason I did it is because I have several people, one of which is my real estate broker. Her name is Cindy Bradley. How many of you know Cindy Bradley?
Yeah.
Who opened Sacred Ground Hospice. She's a dear, dear friend of mine, a dear friend of Tom Spangler's. Her husband ran against a former sheriff as a Democrat. Cindy says that she is not affiliated with any party really, but she typically votes Democrat. So it's those people that I'm looking to change their mind and bring over to the Republican Party. And she often votes Republican, especially in an instance where her sheriff or some key people are on the ballot. So it's people like Cindy Bradley, that's why I did that. And you know, I talked to Mark Ammons, and you know what he said? I said, well, Martin, are you saying, Daniels, he said, Martin, are you saying that I shouldn't recruit into the Republican Party? He said, well, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I'm not here to recruit. So that means we could just all die off, I guess. Paula. I said, what I see you're doing, Martin, is that you are trying to elect people that you're choosing, that you want to win, not all Republicans, because I don't think that this leadership in this Republican Party is out for all Republicans. I think they're out for a certain few Republicans. See, I'm a different candidate. I'm going to be a different commissioner. I'm Kimberly Glenn. And if you want to know how I feel or where I stand, I'll certainly tell you. And that's where I stand. And I think this party is divided. And I think, yes, we need some new blood, because the lifeblood of any organization is new blood. And I think that we as Republicans should bring this party back together, and those who are not willing to be a part of the healing process need to leave.
I was reading a news story today, I believe it was on Fox News or Newsmax. I think everybody's aware of the gerrymandering that's been going on in Virginia, where it was a 5 and 6 Republican, 6 Democrats, 5 Republicans. The gerrymandering would put it down to probably 10 Democrats and 1 Republican. There are thousands of people in Virginia who are changing their loyalty and their party affiliation because of that. Yes. The Republican Party is now getting thousands and thousands of new people. It used to be vote Democrat, used to be Democrat. So, you know, the thing about it is, I believe Ronald Reagan at one time was a Democrat.
I said that on my podcast.
Not wrong.
Right.
You're right. Wrong about that. You're right. Well, somebody must have helped show. He was one of the greatest presidents in my lifetime.
Right. Donald Trump was a Democrat too.
Donald Trump was one time was a Democrat. So bottom line is, you know, people can see the line, and people need to be welcome. They need to understand why it's important to be a Republican and what republicanism means. They don't need to be excluded. I'm not about having a private club where a lot of people are excluded. If somebody wants to come into our club and wants to be a Republican, a loyal Republican, then more power to them.
I agree completely, Steve.
Yeah.
It's Courtney Durrett. Is she going to become a Republican?
I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I'll tell you what. I mean, you know, you don't either. You don't know.
That's right.
Okay, you don't know. Yeah, but I'll tell you this. I guarantee her coming over and voting for a Republican. I mean, I don't know if you've ever voted for a Democrat.
And here's what I'll say to that, Elaine. I'm not singling you out, but Elaine was a Democrat. She's one of the hardest working Republican women you'll find right now.
Amen.
Woo! And I helped her, and I helped Elaine when she got elected. She's an awesome person.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. One of the things I'd like to say about that is, I think part of it is that my principles, morals, and values haven't changed. The party's definitions have. The problem is, I don't believe Courtney Durrett's morals, values, and principles align with our party. And that's what's got me frustrated, is that we have people that have malicious intent in voting in our elections. They're not pro-life. I'm pro-life. They're not for standing up for our children and protecting them in the bathrooms. They're not for protecting our young girls and having transgender surgeries and protecting our children and having their bodies mutilated. They support that. I do not.
Same. And to that thing, I was raised Democrat, the different kind of Democrat, right? Like the JFK.
John F. Kennedy.
That's right. So I am a Republican. I vote Republican. I donate Republican. I've worked on many, many Republican campaigns. I'm a born-again Christian. I believe in the sanctity of life. I believe in the United States Constitution and the Tennessee Constitution.
Amen.
I don't know how much more conservative you can get with that.
You make any questions?
Ask her.
Nobody's got another question?
Well, let me just say this, we were talking about all the zonings a while ago, and because of it, you gotta look back and see that once the people, powers to be decided that it needed to happen, those on the planning commission, it used to be Knox County, Metropolitan Planning Commission, whatever, they panicked. So suddenly, everything that comes across their desk gets approved. They don't even check out half of them. So there's where you go, you're right, you need to go back there first and get that squared away.
And I
They're
believe
also
those are
not, they're
appointed
also
positions.
not elected, Mike, they're not elected.
That's right.
Yeah, those are appointed positions. And I think a new mayor, has their appointees, I think it's half city, half county, so.
Maybe we need to start electing, not the commission.
Anybody else?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.